If you're looking for a 2000, a 2100, or a 2200 on the SAT, this video is for you. In this video, I'm basically going to give you an overview of the framework or the study guide for you to get your goals. Now, this study guide you can get from the description. There's a link in the description below, link to my website where I have this study guide, in addition to all the other resources that I mentioned here. So go ahead and check out the description right away if you want a copy of the study guide. So even though it's only, quote unquote, 300 points between an 1800 and a 2100, these are really hard 300 points to get, the hardest that you've got so far, because there are just fewer questions in play. So in order to get a 700 plus in each section, you need to have really awesome knowledge of the content and excellent reasoning skills, reading skills, worry about the essay a bit more, and a mastery of all the SAT strategies and techniques. So really now we're really going to start moving into the hards. Before we can kind of ignore the hards, now we really need to start worrying about them and spending a lot more of our time practicing them and learning them. You still have a bit room to omit, but you really don't want to, and you'll see in a bit what that breakdown looks like. The other thing is now easies and mediums should be more or less easy for you, doable. And that means you can't make silly mistakes in the easies and mediums. It just absolutely crushes your score. For your percentiles, these let us know basically how many students, and as a percentage, this score beats. So a 2000 beats about 93% of the population, a 2100 beats about 96% of the population, and the 2200 beats about 99% of the population. So you can see these are really fantastic scores. As soon as you hit 2200, you're already better than 99 out of 100 students in terms of your SAT score. So as you can see, we're really getting to some rarefied regions here. These are some pretty high scores. So accordingly, it's going to require a lot of work to get to that last few percentage points. Here's a table just breaking down it by section. The raw points and the max wrong I list in this table are estimates, but they're pretty close to what you'll have to get on test day. Here's percentages for each of or percentiles for each of the section breakdowns. So for instance, a 750 in math beats about 93% of the population. So you can see that it's a pretty high score. Here are your raw points. Remember, for the math, it's out of 54. For the reading, out of 67. And for the writing, it's out of 49. So as you can see, we're bumping up pretty close to perfection. Here's your max wrong. Again, an estimate, but it gives you an idea of how many you can get wrong and still hit your raw score, even with the -1/4 penalty. And here is a listing, as I mentioned earlier, about what you can omit. So for the math, you pretty much want to omit almost none. In fact, the only ones you would omit would be maybe 1 or 2 hards. But you really don't have much room. As you can see, you can only get about 2 to 8 wrong. So the more you omit, the less room you have for error. For the critical reading, again, you're going to omit almost none. And this is perhaps the only exception is the hard sentence completions on account of maybe vocab issues. But besides that, you're going to want to omit almost none. And for the writing, I say almost none. In fact, I might just amend this and say none. There's pretty much no excuse to omit some grammar questions if you're shooting for a 700 in that section. It's too easy to guess. You should be able to at least put a solid answer down for every question. The only kind of excuse would be time. But if you're having time issues, a 2100 might be pretty rough to get anyway. So really, you don't want to omit any in the writing section. Before you begin studying, download these things. I, again, have them listed in the description, in the link that's in the description. You can find, in the same page you can find the study guide, you'll find these resources there too. And again, make sure you have a copy of the official SAT study guide. That's where you're going to get a lot of your practice stuff out of. All right, now for this, I just give you basic guidelines as to how you can get your scores in these sections. I'm not going to read all of this. I'm just going to give some highlights. All of this is basically the same as the 1800, except for the fact you're not going to be using the crash course at all. You can use it if you want, just give you an overview, but you really want to get into the detail and use the bootcamp and the tactics series to target your areas of weakness as revealed by the diagnostic. If you have the time, you want to use the math study guide then to work through as many of these math bootcamp and tactics videos that you can. However, you do want to focus especially on step 4, getting those weaknesses down and really making sure you've improved on those areas. In addition, unlike in the previous levels, you want to really spend a lot of time practicing hard questions, because that is what's going to be holding you back between, from an 1800, 1900 to the 2000, 2100 region. It's going to be those hard questions. So you want to practice hard questions in the math. For the reading, it's a bit more difficult to give you a guideline just because there's no diagnostic that I could really come up with. I would say, start studying your 1, 2, and 3 vocab. Use the SAT Critical Reading Bootcamp and focus especially on the passage-based reading videos. Most of your time should be spent on the passages, just like in the previous levels, because sentence completions, as I mentioned in various videos elsewhere, aren't really going to be the main difference between you getting what you want and where you are now. Now, that's not to say later we would not do some work with the sentence completions, but the main focus should be on the reading passages, just because that's where the points are. And finally, with the writing, you take your diagnostic test, and just like with the math, you're going to really want to go into some detail in the bootcamp and the tactics on those weak topics. If you've got the time, look at the other videos, but the majority of your effort should be spent in your weaknesses, and also on hard grammar questions, because that could be an issue for you. Here, the essay actually starts to matter, so if you can't hit an 8 to 10 consistently, you'll want to then use the bootcamp for the essay bootcamp to improve on that. And if you want to know where you're at, do a practice essay, and if you're a member of my website, go ahead and send it to me, and I'll grade it for you. And finally, if you hit your score target pretty consistently, consider moving up to the next level, 2300 or 2400. Why not, right? All right, so if you have any questions or any other issues, let me know in the comments, send me an email, contact me through my website, however you'd like, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. All right, I'll talk to you later.